everyone, and welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are doing one of the two videos I do at the end of every month, and that is the January reading update in my January wrap-up series. So I am going to be talking about all the books I read in January because unfortunately I didn't do a mid-month reading update, which would have been really helpful considering I was an overachiever in January and read 23 books. Granted, most of them were under 300 pages long and also were novellas or extra content, so I will get into a little bit about that and try not to waffle too much today. I actually wrote a script so I would have just enough information to share about each book and not make this extremely long, because I am aware that I talk too much, and also that I can get really into things when I start talking about books. So let's hope I can be concise today. I am going to tell you two things. One, if it's not at all obvious, I'm congested in how I sound today. I am sick yet again. Been really run down at the start of the year from a lot of stress that I didn't need, and yeah, it's hit me now. So please bear with me if I'm a little bit sniffly and sounding a little bit congested. It was either this or go yet another month without a reading update, and I really want to start the year out strong. Secondly, I am going to be doing this format in the same way I did in my last one. There was a lot of feedback given on the November one where I just did like one picture as the background for the video and then just put up all the books on the screen that way. I only read one physical book, so there's no point me filming this as a proper video and then having to come back through, because it's going to be the same content, just I'm going to just use a picture, if that makes sense. So hopefully that'll work out, and like I said, I got lots of feedback saying they really liked that last time from viewers, so let's get straight into it. 23 books, let's go with the first one. It was 𝓤𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 by KJ Sutton, and I gave this 3 stars. This is the first book in the same named series, and it is a dark fae fantasy. This was one of the books that were really hyped up when I very first got into Bookstagram in I think 2021, and I didn't read it obviously until now, so I feel like I'm a little bit behind the times, and that I might have enjoyed this more if it was earlier in my reading journey, but as it is, it's not my type of book. If I be honest, I did go into this without reading the synopsis. I just knew everyone had read it and enjoyed it back in the day, and when I saw it on Libby and it was available to read right there and then, I was like, right, I'm gonna apply for this and get it and start reading it. So that was a miscalculation on my behalf, because I didn't expect it to be as dark as it was. This follows Fortuna. She has a magical ability to see your biggest fear and become the biggest nightmare, and she is living in the human world and is whisked away to fairy in a marriage of convenience to a fae king, and it is all in the way of helping her brother who'd been missing, I think, for 2 years. This is a very cruel and gore, violent riddled book. It doesn't show cutesy fae with hot bodies. It's definitely that cruel, calculated type of fae, and I did appreciate that, but I'm not huge on gore or dark fantasy, so I don't know why I didn't check this before I even picked it up. I did grow a little bit immune to the cruelty throughout, so I was able to complete the book, which was good, but I don't think I'll be completing the series. I think I'll just stop here. It reads very much so like any other romantasy aside from the fae stuff, very typical with its betrayals, and there's a lot of angst from the main female character about being not like all the other girls, and yeah, her journey is really like quite interesting, but also why me? I did like when she had her moments of strength though, and also the moments of vulnerability, so that was really good. Fortuna was a decent character. I did also like the magic system, especially with her nightmares, and I did also appreciate that the romance was slower in development than I initially expected. I wasn't a fan of the vague love triangle, however, and I liked the little revelation at the end, but again, like I said, I'm probably not going to continue the series It is very easy to read, however. Two is How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwan. I hope I'm saying that right. I gave this 2 stars. This is an arc. It's coming out in April, and it is written by the screenwriter for Emily Henry's um, People We Meet on Vacation. So I picked it up because of that. I didn't see any trigger warnings when I went looking. I wasn't in a space where I felt like I needed to. It sounded like a really cute story about 2 people who cross paths at a really hard time in life, and then they didn't want to know each other. And then 13 years later, they have to work together. So there was no real signs of what that past story was in the synopsis. It was very vague. You open the book up, and there are trigger warnings. I will have the trigger warnings listed in my Goodreads review, which I will link below for people who want to check them out. But briefly, there is suicide of a female. Of the female's sister when she was younger, and that is what connects them and this traumatic past that they have. And had I known how the sister committed suicide, because it involves a car accident, I'm sorry if this is a bit spoilery, but I'm just trying to explain my reasoning here. I wouldn't have picked it up because I have a personal connection to losing my father in a car accident that he was killed by someone else. So that really triggered me from the beginning. And when you read for NetGalley, you can DNF, but you're quite obligated to give some sort of review. And I wish I had done one of those little reviews like DNF'd at such and such and gave a reason why rather than continuing on. But I did try to give this book a go. So it is a romance. It follows Helen and Grant 13 years later, and they are working on Helen's story that is being turned into, I think, a TV show. And obviously, it's around screenwriters because the author knows that best. And I think this is her debut novel. Um, I found this very obvious that it was written by a screenwriter. The structure and the writing style is really quite odd and reads like a stage list. I can't remember, a play script. That's it. And it's very like the wording sometimes is very weirdly done and also extremely dramatic. I feel like this would work more for like if it was a TV show because it's got the drama, it's got the shock factors in there and stuff. It doesn't work so well as a novel. The romance also goes from 0 to 100. Helen absolutely hates on Grant at the beginning, and I didn't understand how they could go into a romance, and I never found it believable. And I didn't feel like there was real love between them, even though they thought they were in love with each other. Lots of smut, and I feel like that was to cover up time gaps, and there were lots of time jumps as well. And yeah, I really hate being negative, but this was just definitely one that I wish I hadn't picked. And I'm just being really honest about my experience with it. I think that this book needs better representation in its synopsis. And I did appreciate that there were content warnings in the front of the book, but you can't get that in an arc setting, which is going to be a complaint that I'll bring up again on another book in a moment. The third book that I read wasn't really a book, it was just extra content, but it is listed as a novella. It is Better Than the Prom by Lynn Painter. This is the 1.5 story in the number 1.5. This is just told from the main male character from Better Than the Movies, Wes's point of view at their prom and that night, and it was a really pivotal moment. I really enjoyed getting to see it from his point of view and the extra content. I'm really into this world. I think it's really cute, and also reading this got me really excited for book 2 that is coming out this year. So I gave this one 5 stars because I just really enjoyed it. Book 4 was The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. I gave this 4.5 stars. This is book 2 in the Bridgerton series, and I really enjoyed this one a lot more than book 1. I loved that both Anthony and Kate as characters showed more development and storyline. I also enjoyed the tension between them that led up to the romance. And I also appreciate that they were more emotionally connected with each other before their marriage as well. I did watch the show first, and I think that is a disadvantage because I prefer things that happened in the show rather than the way it happened in the book or if they weren't there. I found some of the changes a little strange and mostly around how they got married. It felt very rinse and repeat from book one, and I feel like the structure from marriage to the end felt very similar. Like they had this, not the same complaints, but like a similar obstacle to try and get over, and it was generally on the male's side of the story. So I did find that a little bit weird, and the intimacy in this one when it starts out was a little bit iffy, I'm not gonna lie, it made me a bit uncomfortable. But otherwise, really love this book, really love this series, and I'm gonna continue it as well. The next book I finished was The Valentines Hate by Sydney Halston. This was very quick and easy to listen to. I gave it 3 stars. This is a rivals to lovers story where the two main characters grew up together as neighbors and were very antagonistic and bickering and all the time. You get to see this in the prologue, which I really appreciated because it set up the scene for them as adults and how they interacted with each other. And then as adults, they cross paths because they are at the same hotel. One is there to have to be there for her best friend's wedding, and the other one is promoting his book that's getting turned into a movie. So Lisette and Brian go from being not really liking each other when they were younger to obviously having a romance. And I find that Rivals to Lovers is either hit or miss for me, and this one was kind of neutral. I liked that we got that background story, as I mentioned, but I found their change into lovers as adults a little bit strange from how they conversed with each other, and the romance was a bit hard and fast when it came. However, I did like this couple. I found them really like comforting, I guess. It was one of those nothing new romances, and that was okay. The main thing that brought down the star rating for me in this book was the drama with the side characters. I really struggle when adults act very juvenile for no real need to, and it's just drama that's put in that's not really necessary. And as an adult myself, I find it really cringe when people act like babies or really like foolish behavior. I don't know, that's just a personal thing, but I found that really challenging to navigate, as well as the ending drama was a bit over the top. But other than that, it was cute enough, and I gave it 3 stars. The sixth book that I finished was Work It Out by Eva Seidler. And I gave this 2 stars. It was also an arc, so out of the 4 arcs I read over January, I gave 2 of them 2 stars, which is not like me. But it was another one of those really cutesy covered romances and very vague synopsises that sound really cute, and then you open the book up and it's full of like really triggering content. I wasn't so much triggered by this one in the sense of like the happenings weren't as personal as in the first one, but I just don't see the need to put in things like domestic violence and sexual assault to minors, for example, into a romance. Why do we need it there? I just want to read people fall in love. At least put this in somewhere as content that people who are applying for arcs can make educated guesses of whether or not they want to read it. Because there was, again, nothing on the website to do with trigger warnings. I did check after I read it, and because I applied for it for a while ago, and also I did check with the author, and the only thing that was stated was that there was sexual harassment to the main character that was mentioned, but it wasn't that it was a minor. That wasn't added on. Made me feel really uncomfortable. So I really liked this one in the beginning. I thought it was really fun. Jake is someone who has POTS as a chronic illness, but he has kept this under the wraps. He is also an actor, and he's been given the ultimate role of becoming a superhero, and he obviously has to buff up for it. So he goes to a boutique health resort that's run by the main female character, Rhea, and she is an ex-gymnast because of an injury, and she's running the place. And it was really cute, like the banter in the beginning, and whilst there was definite signs of insta lust in the beginning, I thought it was really fun. Fast forward to 20% in, Rhea loses her badass type personality because she's simpering over Jake, and Jake is saying things that make no sense to his character. And then add in on top of that side characters with their drama, meddling in stuff that they didn't really need to. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of trigger warnings. I've only mentioned some of them, but there was quite a few more. And the drama just continued. The author tried to amp up the humor to make it like feel still funny despite all these really heavy topics being added in, and it just made it cringe. And unfortunately the smart just didn't, like, it was just bad times all along. I wanted to give up on this again. I don't tend to DNF arcs because there's no way to get out of that obligation. I think I'm going to have to try and do what other people do and just write why and just, yeah, DNF it. Um, like I mentioned before, why can't cute covered romances just be about falling in love? I don't need all this emotional baggage. However, if there is going to be that, I would just really like the authors or the marketing team to be a little bit more upfront, because this could be content that could really upset other people and they wouldn't even know about it until they've bought the book or something like that. I just feel it's really um, really bad on the publishing team side to keeping this away. I know that's a marketing strategy, but yeah, I won't keep going on because I've got other books to talk about. But yeah, I was really disappointed by this one because it sounded so cute. The next book I finished was Nothing But the Truth by Holly James. I gave this 3 stars. I listened to it as an audiobook, and it has a really cute concept about how the main character, Lucy, wakes up on her 30th birthday and she cannot lie. She cannot tell herself a lie, and she cannot tell anyone else a lie. And I found it initially really empowering to read about a person who just decided, because she couldn't lie to herself anymore, that she wasn't going to fit into society norms. She wasn't going to put on her shapewear. She was going to wear whatever she wanted to her corporate job, and she was going to turn up and still be a badass anyway. And I found this really empowering. Unfortunately, the story does take a little bit of a darker turn. There is sexual harassment in the workplace. And because of not being able to lie anymore, that has a good and a bad consequence to it. And I did, like, it was really conflicting. I did enjoy some aspects of the way that Lucy couldn't lie, but then in other ways, it became a bit more of a growl towards the world of how women are treated. And again, as a woman, I did like some of these elements, but it got to the point that she was even growling at her allies about the smallest inconveniences. And yeah, it got a little bit tedious to dive through that constantly. Otherwise, it's a very easy read. I did find that the romance aspect was a little bit of a letdown compared to what I was hoping. It was cute enough, but it really got dampened down by Lucy's empowering day, and it's an entire day. It felt like this day dragged on for like 3 weeks, but it was just one day in the book. So, yeah, gave it 3 stars. It was just okay. The 8th book that I finished was Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. I gave this 4 stars, and this follows a really wholesome story about a fallen angel, Gadriel, and how they needed to help a person essentially be naughty. This one person had a rating of being just too good, and Gadriel was tasked with trying to make them do little petty things or succumb to little temptations that have like sin points to them. It was really cute and wholesome and whimsy, and I really enjoyed watching Gadriel fall back in love with being like a guardian angel. And I just, yeah, it was really wholesome. I think I've said that about 4 times, but it was. And the humor was really like on point at times. It is a bit of a weird format. There are footnotes in this one, but I didn't mind them. Um, Sometimes I would skip them, but for the majority, they were quite funny. And it was a very unique style. I do hear this is a little bit like, is it Good Omens by Neil Gaiman? People referred to that in the comments a lot when I was looking into the book, but I haven't read that, so I can't say whether or not it is. I do feel like this is a story that I couldn't enjoy by anyone else. I am a fan of Olivia Atwater, which you'll see in a minute, but yeah, it was alright. I gave it 4 stars. The next book I finished was another Olivia Atwater book. It was Half a Soul by, like I mentioned, Olivia Atwater. And this was the first book in the Regency fairy tales. And I loved everything about this. It was my top read for January. I gave it 5 stars. If you love Howl's Moving Castle, this is an adult type version of that. Very whimsical, very much so the same kind of banter. Dora is afflicted by having half her soul taken from her when she was younger, and she has grown up not being able to feel emotions like everyone else, and that has gotten her seen by her aunt as extremely strange or not someone who she would normally support. But because her daughter and Dora's cousin is obsessed with her, she is allowed to go to London with them as they try to get the cousin a husband. And whilst in London, she meets Elias, who is the main male character, very like Hal Pendragon from Howl's Moving Castle. Absolutely loved him so much that I was just like so in love with him from the first minute I read him. My friend who was reading it with me took a little bit more to warm up to him, but it was just really, really sweet. I liked that it was an emotional connection as well, and there's like a really soft romance involved, and also there's a bit of a mystery to resolve. It is a very short book. I would have liked more time in it, but for the length it is, it's still perfect. And I also read 2 novellas that are in the same world. So the prequel novella, which is The Lord Sorcer, or Sorcer. I'm probably pronouncing that badly. This is simply extra content from the point of view of Albert and Elias from when they met as friends in the war, and I don't feel like it really adds anything to the world. And the second novella I read was The Latchkey, and this one I really did enjoy. I gave this one 4 stars, gave the prequel 3.5 stars. And I really enjoyed getting the backstory to Elias's upbringing in Fairy and how that shaped him, and how his experiences work as a father towards the children that him and Dora are raising in, I think, an orphanage type situation. So I really found this quite rewarding, and I also liked that all this content is free and easily accessible on the author's website if you sign up for her newsletter. So that is the way it should be done. The next book I read was The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, and I gave this 3.5 stars, which I'm still conflicted about because it is a really great world, and I know a lot of people that love this world so much. And I do think personally I'm not huge on witches anymore. I was when I was younger, but not so much now. But this story has a really cool twist to the magic system. It's based around climate change and how the damage is being done to the world by the people that live in it, and how the witches are trying to slow down that damage and try and protect the world as much as possible. Found that so fascinating and such a really clever twist on real life issues that we're having in today's society with climate. but I disliked the main female character the entire time until towards the end. Her name's Clara, and I just found her really hard to bear with because she was very not antagonistic, but like really angsty. Just very woe is me. I'm so different from everyone else because she has the ability to harness all magic rather than just one season of magic. And I can understand why that was really isolating for her, but it did mean that she hurt a lot of people in the process of isolating herself. And whilst there is some growth there, I just found like she never got proper consequences for some of the actions she caused to other people. I really liked the last portion of the book, however, it's total 5 stars. So that's where I get really conflicted because I really began to enjoy it in the last section of the book. But before that, I couldn't stand Clara enough. There was times where I was going to DNF it, so I'm not sure. I really like the author's way of writing, but her main character just, yeah, put me off. So 3.5 stars, unfortunately. The next book I read was another arc. It was The Devil in Blue Jeans by Stacey Kennedy. I gave this 3 stars. I have read another book by this author when I very first started reading again, and I'm wondering if I'd read this back then, if I would have given it a higher rating. I don't know. I feel like I'm more critical in my reading these days, but I remember absolutely loving this paranormal read by this author, so that's why I applied for this one. This one is a cowboy romance, which again, I thought would be right up my alley since I own horses. I found that it was more of a superficial leveled book than anything else. There was a lot of drama. The main characters, Charlie and Jackson, have had different experiences in life, and Charlie especially is running from her ex that cheated on her, and it's just uplifted her life and moved to this small township. And there is her 2 best friends that came with her that also had some trauma as well. And I feel like there was a lot of trauma and not a lot of world building. And the actions between the characters was very juvenile. These are characters in their late 20s, and I just couldn't connect to them. The romance is very much so quick and fast, and not a lot of build up. There is a really big dramatic point at the end that results in a death, and I felt that that was really weirdly placed, and it made me really uncomfortable what happened immediately afterwards. So I'm really sad because I did enjoy that first book that I read by this author, and um, yeah, gave this one 3 stars. I don't think I'll be continuing the series. This is the first book in the new series. The next one was also an art. I read Switched by Sarah Reddy. I've read a lot of books by this author, and this is book 2 in the Ghosted series. I gave Ghosted 4.5 stars. This one follows the best friend in the first book and her story. She is a scientist in Geneva, I think it was. And I didn't gel with her at the beginning of the book. I'm going to be fully honest. I found her really like a struggle to get into because the author wrote her differently. She does explain this at the start of the book, but there are diagrams, there are lists, there are footnotes everywhere, and I didn't find this style of writing really engaging. Um, it's also very STEM related, so people who read like Ali Hazelwood STEM romances might really enjoy this once it gets into the romance. But I did find the start to this a bit weird. The synopsis is essentially that Serena meets Henry one night. They have one night of passion that goes really well, too well, in fact, and Serena gets really frightened by it, ghosts him for an entire year. Unfortunately, they work in the same workplace, and there's a freak accident with an electrical storm, and they end up swapping bodies. So Serena spends most of her time in Henry's body, and Henry is in her body. And I really, really liked how the author wrote this. Like, so well done. And I would have given this 4.5 stars as well as the first book because I actually liked the characters and the storyline a lot more in this one than the first book, but I just really couldn't get past that initial footnotes and weird writing because breaking the fourth wall and everything, talking to the actual reader. because it comes back in the end as well. I was like, nope, no, I'm enjoying this, and then it came back, and I was like, it's back. So yeah, being a little bit picky that I was, I gave it 4 stars, but it's still a really good read. I liked the romance, I liked the pacing of it, and I especially loved how the author was able to represent two people in two different bodies. Like, you could still tell Henry was Henry, even though he was wearing dresses and was shorter and he was acting a little bit more feminine, and you could tell that Serena was still herself in Henry's large body. I thought it was really well done, so I do recommend picking this one up. It comes out in on the 20th of February, so definitely give this one a read. We're on the home stretch because books 15 to 20 were all part of a novella series, The Improbable Meet Cute. It was written by a whole bunch of romance authors and just recently released. You can get it for free on KU right now, and I think you can pick up the Audible audiobooks for like $2 or something. I picked this up mostly because of Ashley Poston. I absolutely love her strange and whimsical type way of writing romances, and I also like Christina Lauren, but there's a couple of authors in there that I've also read from, so I thought it'd be really fun and read all of them. They're extremely quick to get through. The longest is 101 pages. I think if you read this all as one book, it would be about 350 pages. I did give some authors less of a rating than others, so quickly, Christina Lauren's book is first, and I gave that one 4 stars, and it's my favourite out of the whole book novella series. Abby Hebonez had book 2, and I gave that one 4 stars as well. Book 3 was Sally Thorne, and I gave that one 3 stars. Book 4 was Jasmine Galori, I hope I'm saying that right, and I gave that one 2 stars. And book 5 was Ashley Poston. I gave that one 4 stars. Had there been an extra 20 pages on for her to flesh out the idea, I think this would have been an easy 5-star read. And Soraya Wilson had the 6th book, and I gave that one 3 stars. I hadn't read anything by this author before, and I DNF Jasmine's book that I did pick up once, so that's just for transparency. Overall, really cute. It's about Valentine's Day. All the worlds are somewhat interconnected to each other. Not every single one, but like they roll into each other a little bit. I really liked Christina Lauren's one, and the way they represented love over a decade actually of meeting on Valentine's Day through an email. Thought that was a really, really clever idea. Book 2, Abby Hebonez is always very like there's always something traumatic happening in there, and this one really related to something that's gonna be my future, I guess. And so that hit me in the feels a little bit, but I liked it. It was really cute. Sally Thorne is one of those hit or miss authors, and this was really kooky, and I had a little bit of trouble with the FMC always running herself down, but otherwise it was a fun read. It made me laugh a little bit, so I gave it 3 stars. Jasmine's story is based around an earthquake, and again, that hit me a little bit personally. I've been in an earthquake that destroyed my city, and I didn't appreciate the humour or the romance that happened in a natural disaster. So that's on me, not so much on the author, but there was a lot of issues with it for us. Yeah, I won't get into it. I didn't enjoy it, gave it 2 stars. And then Ashley Poston, obviously love her, and this one was really cute. The idea was really well done, but yeah, she just needed more time to flesh it out. And the last book was very much so like if you've read or watched if you've watched enough Hallmark movies with Hidden Royal in it, then you know the storyline. And I gave that one 3 stars. So yeah, overall, had a good time. They were very easy to get through. The pages are very, like, some of them only had like 40 pages to work with, and others had a little bit more. So definitely pick this up if you're wanting some Valentine reads. The next 2 books I read, one was a reread. It was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I read this as an audiobook for the first time. I read my first time through this world just in physical copy, and I don't know if it was because I've already read the characters and knew the storyline, or I came to love the characters after book 1. But I gave this 5 stars. I really enjoyed my time, and the narrator was perfect. I really found it engaging, and I'm so glad that I've decided to reread this series through audiobook so I can go on to the next series set in our fame. I decided to pick up the extra content novella in between books 1 and 2. It is The Lost Sisters. This is Taryn's explanation for her behaviour. It's like a letter to her sister. And congratulations to Holly for making me hate her even more. Absolutely despise this character as it is, and she made me remember just as much. And she made me remember just why I find her absolutely vile. Yeah, there was no redemption here whatsoever. And the final book, finally we're here. It is Meet Me There by Judy Corey. I had to get a book in for the Buzzwordathon that had the word there in it, and so I got it for the title of this, and this I gave 3.5 stars. It is book 1 in the Ridgewater High series. I think that's the name of the series. And it was very cliche, and it was a YA romance. Essentially, the main characters at the beginning are in a bit of a battle with each other, a prank war, and they cross paths in a way that the main male character wasn't expecting. So he puts on a random voice and lets the main female character believe he's some random guy. And it was cute. Like, it was cliche. I knew how it was going to go. I did find the drama when the angst hit was a bit much, but I did like the dual point of view, and it was very easy to read. I did prefer the main male character, despite the fact that he was misleading her at points, and his struggles and his backstory was really interesting. But yeah, I think I might continue the series. I just, like I mentioned, I picked it up for a prompt. Finding the word there in a title of a book that you haven't read already, if I've got them on my shelf, was really challenging. So I picked this one up for free through Audible. So very happy that I was able to complete the prompt. And that is all 23 books talked about. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I think I've gotten into a routine with this video that we've come under what I was expecting the time to be. Thank you if you've spent this whole time with me to the very end. If you have, please leave me an emoji of your favorite emoji. That'd be really fun. And yeah, I'll be back with a new video very soon. We're going to wrap up the rest of January in the second part of the series, and that is actually inside my journal again. So do look out for that. I have filmed most of it already, and it will be out on Sunday. This is going live as soon as I edit it today on Friday, so only a couple of days to wait, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, I hope you have fun reading. Bye everyone.